When you picture the old American frontier, you picture dust storms drifting across empty plains, hollow-eyed sheriffs tracking hoofprints at dawn, and the echo of gunfire rolling through canyons, and somewhere inside that mythic soundscape, you picture one man, a man whose legend grew far beyond his crimes, a man born Robert Leroy Parker, but remembered forever as Butch Cassidy. Before we dive into the wild, twisting life of one of the most famous outlaws who ever lived, tell me this in the comments. Do you believe most outlaws were criminals, or products of a brutal system that gave them no other path? I want to see what you think. And while you're here, make sure you subscribe to Echoing Westwinds so you never miss a journey into the hidden corners of frontier history. The story of Butch Cassidy doesn't begin with gunsmoke or broken laws. It begins in the Utah Territory, April 13, 1866. Beaver, Utah wasn't much more than a scattered frontier settlement. Some cabins, some dirt roads, a handful of families trying to survive the unknown. His parents, Maximilian and Anne, were English immigrants, devout, disciplined, and determined to carve out something better than they'd ever known. Cassidy, known as Roy in his youth, was the oldest of 13 children. That meant responsibility long before adventure, dawn to dusk chores, endless labor under the harsh Utah sun. Days spent hauling water, handling livestock, repairing fences, tending crops. Life forced discipline, but it never erased curiosity. And for Cassidy, curiosity would be the first step toward a lifetime of trouble. As a teen, he drifted from ranch to ranch, working wherever someone would pay him. Hard work didn't bother him. What bothered him was dullness, routine, predictability. Cassidy craved movement. He craved the unknown. And eventually, he found it, or maybe it found him, in a petty crime that set the tone for everything that would come after. He broke into a closed shop just to take a pair of jeans. Not because he needed them, because he wanted them. He even left a note saying he'd pay the debt later. He never did. For most men, that would be a mistake, then a lesson. For Cassidy, it was a warning shot of the life he was headed into. He was arrested, tried, and then surprisingly acquitted. 14 years old, already learning that the line between guilt and freedom could be thin enough to slip through. But life took a harsher turn after that. His family lost a massive piece of their homestead after a dispute with a persistent neighbor. That land had been their security, their chance at building something lasting gone. And with it, any illusion young Cassidy had about fairness on the frontier. He drifted again, this time finding work under a rancher named Mike Cassidy, a tough man, a capable farmer, and a seasoned cattle rustler. That mix of stability and rebellion was intoxicating. Mike Cassidy taught Roy Parker what the law truly meant out here. A loose suggestion, enforced selectively, shaped by power, money, and distance. If you were smart, quick, and loyal to the right people, you could stay one step ahead of it forever. From Mike Cassidy, the boy learned the trade: theft, movement, escape, daring, the frontier's darker arts. He admired him so much that he eventually stole the man's last name and made it his own. Roy Parker vanished. Butch Cassidy was born. After leaving Mike Cassidy's ranch, Butch continued drifting through Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado. He worked briefly as a butcher, the job that gave him the name Butch, but even honest work seemed temporary. Stability couldn't hold him. Not when the frontier called for more dangerous ambitions. In 1884, he moved to Telluride, Colorado, an isolated mining town with booming silver and even louder opportunity. Some say he rustled cattle there. Others say he sized up the mining operations. But most accounts agree, Telluride awakened his appetite for bigger, bolder crimes. By 1889, Butch Cassidy, Matt Warner, and the McCarty brothers had their eyes on the San Miguel Valley Bank. It wasn't greed that motivated Cassidy, it was thrill. Strategy, the satisfaction of outsmarting the powerful. When he planned a robbery, he did it like a chess player, patient, methodical, unshakable. On June 24th, they struck. No shootout, no bloodshed, no reckless chaos, just precision, calm intimidation, a clean escape, $20,000 richer, and suddenly a marked man across the territory. And just like that, notoriety became his shadow. The next chapter of Cassidy's life is where the legendary outlaw truly takes shape. He bought a small ranch in Dubois, Wyoming. not as a retirement, but as a strategic fortress. From there, he moved deeper into the wilderness, eventually building a network of hideouts along a route that would come to be known as the Outlaw Trail, 1,000 miles of rugged terrain, hidden valleys, sympathetic ranches, and nameless junctions stretching from Mexico to Montana. No one built it formally. Outlaws shaped it simply by surviving. Among these hideouts was the iconic Hole in the Wall, a natural fortress inside the Bighorn Mountains. Legend says it was nearly impossible to access without knowing the terrain: cliffs, narrow passes, natural choke points, vantage spots where you could see enemies coming hours before they arrived. For Cassidy, it was the perfect headquarters. While running these hideouts, he crossed paths with the Bassett sisters, especially Anne and Josie. Both ranch women, both fiercely independent, and both deeply intertwined with outlaw circles. Anne, in particular, became a romantic partner to Cassidy, though their relationship was constantly interrupted by his unpredictable lifestyle. By 1896, Cassidy was officially forming a group that history would never forget: the Wild Bunch. A collection of sharpshooters, expert horsemen, rustlers, gamblers, misfits, and restless spirits, among them Harvey Kid Curry Logan, the Sundance Kid, Ben Tall Texan Kilpatrick, and others whose names still send echoes through Western history. Under Cassidy's strategic mind, they became the most successful outlaw gang of the late frontier era. Efficient, fearless, calculated. Unlike other gangs who relied on brute force and chaos, the Wild Bunch operated like a small army. They studied targets, tracked train schedules, rehearsed escape routes, positioned fresh horses strategically across miles of terrain. In 1899, they hit the Overland Flyer on the Union Pacific Railway, a robbery so lucrative it shook railroad barons to their core. Tens of thousands stolen, no casualties. Just the signature precision of Cassidy's planning. But their success came with consequences. The Pinkerton National Detective Agency, the most feared investigative force in the country, was now after them, relentless, resourceful, cold. Once the Pinkertons had your name, your hides, or your trail, escape became a matter of time, not luck. Cassidy wasn't intimidated, but he wasn't naive either. He knew that with every heist, every victory, and every dollar stolen, his window of freedom was shrinking. And before we go deeper into the pursuit, let me ask you this. Drop it in the comments right now. Do you think Butch Cassidy was a criminal genius, or just a man who understood his era better than the people chasing him? I want to see where you stand. By 1900, the Wild Bunch reached their peak. The Tipton train robbery brought in over $50,000. The Winnemucca bank heist added more. They posed for the legendary Fort Worth 5 photograph, smiling boldly in suits and ties, as if daring the world to catch them. But cracks were forming. Lawmen were getting sharper. Pinkertons were getting closer. Cassidy, for all his charm and strategy, felt the walls closing in. He even entertained a bizarre offer from the Union Pacific chairman: freedom in exchange for retiring from crime. But Cassidy knew himself too well. He wouldn't keep that promise. He couldn't. So he chose another path: escape. In 1901, he and the Sundance Kid vanished from the American frontier entirely. They boarded a ship to South America with Sundance's partner, Etta Place. The trio bought a ranch in Argentina. Thousands of acres, cattle, sheep, horses, wide plains, and quiet days. For once, Butch Cassidy tried to live a peaceful life. But peace was never built for him. By 1905, rumors of robberies surfaced. English-speaking bandits hitting banks in Argentina. Foreign outlaws crossing Patagonia after a heist. It didn't take long for fingers to point at Cassidy and Sundance. Pinkertons pursued them across continents. Local sheriffs hunted them on horseback. Warrants spread across borders. With pressure building, the trio split, Etta returning to the U.S. with Sundance, leaving Cassidy to navigate a world closing in on him. Cassidy and Sundance later regrouped in Bolivia, posing as miners. They tried once more to settle, to adopt an honest life. But survival, not honesty, was all the frontier had ever taught them. On November 3rd, 1908, the final robbery hit the mining town of San Vicente. The Bolivian authorities cornered the two outlaws in a boarding house. A brutal shootout erupted, bullets tearing through thin walls and dusty air. By the early hours of November 7th, silence fell. 2 bodies were found inside, one shot in the forehead, the other in the temple. The official story claims Cassidy ended his partner's suffering, then turned the gun on himself. but no positive identification was ever made. And this is where the legend mutates into something larger. Some swear Cassidy survived, returned to the US, visited family, worked odd jobs, lived out his final days under a different name. His own sister claimed he visited their childhood home in the 1920s. Ranchers in Wyoming said he came by in a Model T. Some locals insisted he died in 1937, buried secretly on family land. Truth or myth? We'll never know. What we do know is this: Butch Cassidy was more than a criminal. He was a symbol of rebellion, of cunning, of the unpredictable spirit of the frontier. He captured the imagination of the world not because he broke laws, but because he outsmarted them. Before we close, tell me this: if Cassidy really escaped Bolivia and lived quietly in America, do you think he deserved that peace? Or should he have faced justice? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into the life of one of the West's most enduring legends, subscribe to Echoing Westwinds. More untold frontier stories are coming.